Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your brain-dancing hosts standing at the gate of hell, still wanting more bloody power and fame.
That was oddly specific, but hi, I'm John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. This episode is entirely out of control, because today we will first travel to a kingdom of black magic and heavy metal to witness an ancient evil wizard in his journey to rule the world, conquer the ladies of all the lands, and destroy anyone who stands in his way in Bastard. And after that, we vibe to the Nova sounds of Night City to join the motley crew from Cyberpunk Edgerunners in their mad dash to realize their dreams, no matter the cost, be it love, life, or their humanity. Sounds like a wild ride, so get your spellbooks ready, don some chrome, and definitely don't pause the pod. We'll be right back. 4 centuries ago, Earth's modern civilization suffered a cataclysmic event of destruction caused by the demon Anthrax, before she was slain by the Dragon Knight, plunging the world into a new dark age. In the present, the kingdom of Metallicana is attacked by the Dark Rebel army who seek to resurrect Anthrax. This prompts the High Priest Geo to ask his daughter Yoko to awaken Dark Schneider, a powerful sorcerer and founding leader of the Dark Rebel army, who the High Priest himself some time ago sealed within the body of the now 14-year-old boy Lucien Renren. Freed from his prison, Dark Schneider decides to fight his former comrades, but not for good. He fights to protect Yoko and to have some destructive fun. In time, Dark Schneider's allies will learn of his true nature and ties to the calamity that befell the old world. Bastard is a manga by Kazushi Hagiwara, which counts 27 volumes and apparently is still irregularly continued, even though the main story seems to be finished. The most recent chapter was released in 2010, so who knows if we get any more. There was already an OVA that covered parts of the story and might be familiar to some people my age. It was released between 1992 and 93 and counts 6 episodes. I haven't seen that one, except parts of it in an AMV, which was pretty cool. But I don't know how that old version adaptation holds up. This new adaptation, appropriately titled Bastard Heavy Metal Dark Fantasy, is an original net animation done for Netflix and is produced by, drumroll, Leiden Films. John knows what that means. If you don't, dear listener, because you have joined us pretty recently, we have talked about Leiden Films before, mostly in a negative way when it comes to the animation, because it's usually not great. I mean, they're
a real mixed bag.
Yes, exactly. There are some episodes in each of their shows that look pretty damn good, but generally those are few and far between. The new adaptation of Heroic Legend of Arslan comes to mind, which I watched at least parts of.
Does it count if I played the Arslan Muso game?
Sure. If that had cutscenes from Leiden Films, I don't fucking know.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I haven't played that. I haven't played the Berserk Muso game either, which...
I heard that one was...
Yeah. Pretty bloodless, considering the source material. That seems like a weird choice. But alright, there are some exceptions, of course. Hanebad looked great pretty much all the way through. And on Killing Bites, they got a capable director or capable directors, if you want to count a series director and animation directors, and episode directors, who were able to hide the animation's shortcomings pretty effectively. Sadly, Bastard is not one of those. I mean, the beginning of the show looks actually great. Mostly fluid animation, impactful effects, some really cool posing shots. There's some cool spell slinging, some cool sword fights. It's all pretty dark and moody with some neat shaders here and there. But after the first quarter of the show, the animation kind of takes a nosedive.
That quick, huh?
Everything looks a lot stiffer. We get a lot more still frames, and the explosions, the hits, pretty much everything becomes kind of limp and feels dragged out in terms of pacing.
Oof.
It becomes a lot more a show of people commenting on the participants in a battle than the actual action of the fight they're commenting on too. which is a common shonen disease, but some series are hit harder by that than others, and Bastard is hit pretty hard, at least in the middle part here. Thankfully, the animation recovers mostly by the time the final quarter of the show rolls around, so we get a decently impactful finale out of it. The director is Takaharu Ozaki, who has ventured into dark fantasy as a director before with Goblin Slayer, which...
That's also a thing.
I didn't have kind words for when I tackled it in one of our sneak peeks, but at least he knows his way around the genre and blood and gore, I guess. But he has also directed Girls Last Tour, which I loved and which gave me big pause when I looked him up, because in my eyes, Girls Last Tour and Goblin Slayer couldn't be more diametrically opposed in terms of themes, tone, look, value, everything, really.
Yeah.
But okay. And while Bastard definitely could be sorted more into the Goblin Slayer camp for several reasons, it also has a completely different tone than that show. And our camp is actually what I would call that. Goblin Slayer went for an ow the edge tone, stating something like, if you don't take your RPG seriously, even the smallest goblin fry can slaughter all males in your party and rape all the women easily. Preparation is everything, and we will state that shit on repeat, which, alright, you do you, Goblin Slayer. Bastard goes the completely other way and is like, why so serious? Like, from the get-go. It's evident that this show is 90s as fuck and doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest. The setup is grimdark but absurd. The characters are loud shonen trope caricatures, villains and heroes alike. There are plenty of jokes, a lot of them made at the show's dispense. There's tits and ass thrown at you every other second. There is blood and violence galore displayed in the most ludicrous ways possible. Characters getting dismembered, then being alive somehow, then getting dismembered more, then getting back up again.
Oh, so it's the Mortal Kombat school of violence.
Yeah, kinda, but not as realistic, I would say. Like, Mortal Kombat 11...
Realistic? My dude, realistic!
I mean, in terms of depicting the body parts and how the characters get dismembered, I feel like Mortal Kombat is venturing into the kind of very gross territory in recent times, where it's like so photorealistic in terms of graphics that it's kind of off-putting.
Okay,
but
yeah, I guess in the recent games, I was thinking more like MK3, where it's like how
you
have like 10 femurs and 30 gallons of blood. That ain't right.
Yeah, that fits. Yeah. It's definitely like Bastard is definitely Mortal Kombat 2 or 3. Yes, in terms of feeling. And, there's stuff in there like, Schneider's favorite spells are fire and lightning based. So you would assume he'd have a difficult time against a fire spirit like Ifrit. But he just fights fire with more stronger fire, of course. Which, it's fine. It's how this works.
You idiot, it's immune to fire. Well, then I guess you just have to use more fire.
Yeah. This shit is JoJo's level over the top and then some. For example, Dark Schneider and one of his opponents, Gara, both lose an arm in their fight. And then just banter on for like 5 minutes straight while blood is just constantly not pouring but gushing out of their arm sockets. And of course they're fine and the arms later get reattached through magic, because why the fuck not?
Yeah, no, that all tracks.
Yes, small spoiler, but I have to mention it because it's just so hilarious. In the final set of episodes, Schneider just basically exists only as a torso with one arm. And somehow is able to continue the fight. It's nonsense. It's trash. It's dumb as hell. And goddamn does the show know it and celebrate it. Is an edgy fantasy metal cover from the 80s or 90s come to life. And it's fantastic. Speaking of metal, music plays a big part in this show. As you might have garnered from the plot summary, there are some references. I want to say carefully placed in the show. but they are actually thrown in your face every episode. Like, they immediately name drop several metal bands. The name of the main kingdom is Metallicana, as I mentioned before, and all the spells or incantations have names of bands as well, like Slayer, Venom, Sodom, or Megadeth. The evil wizard in the first episode is named Osborne, after Ozzy Osbourne, I assume. It's great. I love that nonsense in Guilty Gear. I love it in JoJo's, and I love it here. Totally my jam. This turned into a game of spot a metal reference for me. Speaking of Guilty Gear, Daisuke Shibatari, the creator of Guilty Gear, is apparently an outspoken fan of the Bastard manga, which explains why...
That explains everything.
Yes! Exactly. It explains why Guilty Gear is filled to the brim with rock and metal references as well. And the similarities in names and the look of certain characters between Guilty Gear and Bastard. Like, for example, Kai Kiske is kind of similar in style and look to Kal Su, the head general of the Dark Rebel Army. So yeah, now we know where a lot of the influences from Guilty Gear stem from. Likewise, the soundtrack of this series is a colorful mix of orchestral epic and symphonic metal that fits the series perfectly, both in epic and cheesiness, and I love it. It's composed by Yasuhara Takanashi, who also did the soundtracks for Naruto, Fairy Tail, Zombieland Saga, and a whole lot of other great stuff. I also want to highlight the OP by Coltrane, Bloody Power Fame, which is appropriately awesome. And it was definitely one of those never skip OPs for me that season.
I haven't watched the show, but the song is definitely on my playlist. And when it comes on, you don't skip it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love the new album by Coltrane, Non-Negative, a lot in general, but I think Bloody Power Fave is the best song on it by a mile. And yeah, it's the reason why it is the OP of this show. Well chosen. The ED, Bless List by TL, is great too. So the show maybe didn't hit home for me in terms of animation all the time, but in tone and music, most definitely. But what about the story and characters, you might ask? Well, I mean, the setup I already summarized in the intro narration beginning here. But what happens basically is the kingdom gets attacked by the Dark Rebel Army, and we see a flashback to Geo telling his daughter, if there is some real big problems happening to this kingdom, there's like this dark wizard trapped in your in your childhood friend Lucian, and he can be awakened through a virgin kiss, so you know what to do, girl. And she's like, wait, what? Does that mean I can't get a boyfriend or what the fuck? But yeah, so that kind of all happens. The kingdom is attacked, and it happens it must happen. Yoko kisses Lucian, and Dark Schneider's awakened. And yeah, he is loud, he's ruthless, and pretty vain. Like, he gets really angry at Osborne for hurting his cute face, quote unquote, in the first episode, and just fries his ass with his venom spell. Schneider just really hates ugly people in general and calls himself Hansamu-sama all the time.
Oh God, shut up.
He's also got a good maniacal laugh, so I guess that's befitting for an evil wizard, or formerly evil wizard. Like, he will kill anyone that stands in his way, although he dials that back in a bit. And, he doesn't kill Yoko because he loves her. Like, he has spent 14 years in Lucian's body and a lot of that time with her. And that has changed him in more ways than one, which even his former acquaintances notice pretty quickly. They're like, you're different. What the fuck happened? You didn't used to be so mellow in certain aspects. You were more of a dangerous person. I'm like, he's still pretty dangerous, guys. What are you talking about? But yeah, he maybe doesn't kill everyone that comes, that crosses him in a way, and it's more about like, hey, maybe some of you deserve redemption or stuff like that, just like I do, maybe. But, he's fronting. He's all the time like, I'm gonna conquer the world and fuck everyone else, and deep down he might not think that, especially when it comes to Yoko. Like, he tells Yoko as much in the second episode by saying, me and Lucian are the same person. I love what Lucian loves. And he proves it to her by then intentionally kissing her, which turns him back into Lucien by reactivating the seal. Like, he's willing to give up his power for her. So that's pretty cool and an interesting dynamic. And he's also a bit scared of her violent side, so that's pretty hilarious, considering he's this all-powerful wizard. But if she threatens to give him, like, punch him in the face, he's like he gets like these cat ears, and he's like, oh god, no, please don't hit me. I guess her strong hand definitely had an educational effect on him, which, like I said, is even noticed by some of his old friends or frenemies. Though, I guess for Yoko it's more complicated, since she loves Lucien more like a big sister, and for Schneider it might be more of a desire of her nether regions. But yeah, she also has to grapple with his dark side, while Lucien is just a nice kid who doesn't get angry at anything, not even bullies, who deserve it. And things get only more complicated once other virgin women become involved that can awaken Schneider, technically. It's definitely a bit, not only a bit, but a harem show in certain aspects. I mean, Schneider had an actual harem at some point. They say that. But thankfully, it's not really the only focus of this show. It's definitely in there. Like, there are definitely a lot of women here, and all of them are pining after Schneider. But it's not all there is to it. It's mostly about the fight against the Dark Rebel army. And Schneider being a giant doofus. Some old fans complained that there is no full nudity in the show.
Oh, no.
Which the old OVA had, I think. Like I said, I haven't watched it. But the original release of the manga didn't, because it was a show. It was released in Shonen Jump and then later switched to Shonen Jump Ultra, I think. And that's when either then or when the tankobon came out, like the volume releases, that's when the creator of the manga actually drew nipples on the women's breasts. So, not in the original release. So maybe this is adhering closer to the original version? I don't know. I don't think Netflix gave them any restrictions when it came to animated boobs, because, we're gonna review another show this episode that has a lot of full frontal action. And I'm not talking about the villain from Gundam Unicorn.
Maybe there was some agreement with their investors or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, and maybe because I think the other show we're going to review was a Netflix exclusive, and I think Bastard wasn't. It was also aired on TV, so maybe they had to find a compromise or something like that. But yeah. Anyway, that's some of the stuff I heard that people were complaining about. And while that sure would have completed the look this is going for, it's also not a big deal in my eyes. And it's not like the show isn't plenty pervy as it is, because it's definitely going there hard. For example, in a scene where Princess Sheila is sucking poison out of a wound on Dark Schneider's body, they definitely frame it, and it definitely sounds like she is giving him a grade A blowjob. And yeah, and there are a bunch more scenes like that in this show, trust me. And since Dark Schneider has been alive for 400 years and is a greedy ladies' man, he's a womanizer, top to bottom. He is hitting all of it. Any woman he sees, he's kind of like, hey, you want to go? Which is, of course, not Yoko's thing, where it's what the fuck, stop it. And yeah, he has fucked a whole damn lot. The show is making no secret of that. And it takes a lot of time for him to get off his, to maybe change direction a bit in the future, if he is serious towards Yoko, because she definitely doesn't jam with that polyamorous relationship thing. And also, in terms of this being a pervy show, maybe that's a problem for some people. There's lots of groping and heavy petting, so if you don't want to put up with that being in your anime, I don't know what to tell you. It's pretty old school in that regard, and some of that stuff is kind of rapey. I don't want to dance around it. It's kind of uncomfortable. And for people who have a problem with that and can't, say okay, this is from another time and that's how that stuff was handled back then in anime, I totally understand that, and maybe don't watch this then. Because everyone is a pervert. It's not only Dark Schneider, but, also Gara to an extent and some other characters. But especially our main hero, question mark. Like, everyone be clamoring for them virgins. I mean, there's no actual fucking in the show, unless I missed it, but the imagery definitely makes it look like there's plenty. Like, nobody can resist Schneider's charm, except maybe Yoko. But all the ladies he fights eventually want his Schneider-D, and that's just in there. That's how it is. And you have to, accept that. And yeah, awakening Dark Schneider 2 times after the second episode or third episode definitely has an effect on this seal that keeps him in check and keeps him in Lucien's body, because you notice that he gains more and more control. Like, he can now take control of Lucien when Lucien is asleep, but at this point he can't transform or use his power yet. But that changes. He becomes more and more powerful the more often he gets awakened, be it, by himself when Lucien is asleep, or when Yoko kisses him, or another virgin kisses him, or whatever. And when Dark Schneider uses too much magic, Lucien's personality gains the upper hand again, which is a problem if it happens in enemy territory with no virgin in sight to kiss him. And yeah, if he doesn't get unsealed by a kiss, but takes control by himself, he can only do it while Lucien is asleep, like I said, and he doesn't know when Lucien will wake up again and render him powerless. So this, again, is a huge downside. I wish they had developed Lucien into his own character instead of using him. No, they used him mostly as an obstacle to Dark Schneider and the reason for Yoko to stick around. Because in the beginning, she doesn't want to. She's like, who is this fucking guy that was my childhood friend Lucien, which I really love? And who is this brash, self-obsessed piece of shit? Why do I have to deal with that character now? But yeah, at least in this part of the story, Lucien is just that, an obstacle, a problem, a risk that Dark Schneider takes when he goes somewhere, because he never knows when Lucien might take control again accidentally. And yeah, when he's fighting, maybe that's a big of a problem. And Lucien doesn't seem to have any agency aside from protecting Yoko. One scene aside, there is no inner conversation with Dark Schneider or anything where they learn from each other or butt heads over stuff. There are no moments where Lucien gets to be the hero of the day, when they easily could have used a moment where, the Dark Schneider persona can't materialize to give Lucien the chance to shine and develop. But at least in what has been covered of the story so far, they don't seem to be interested in doing that. I mean, I get...
kind of lame, though.
Yeah. I mean, I get wanting to focus on your charismatic, funny, incredibly powerful doofus of a character that is Dark Schneider over a small, frail crybaby like Lucien. And he cries a lot.
But that gives him room to grow, though, don't you think?
Exactly. Yes. I feel it was a missed opportunity, just like you. They could have done something more with our main protagonists. Have them actual dialogue in the in Lucien's head or in Dark Schneider's head. Like, have them be like, hey, fuck, don't do this. You save these people right now. Make Dark Schneider even more of an asshole. Make him be like more egoistic and like, no, I'm just not gonna help, this and that. I'm just gonna go, or I'm just gonna kill these people. And Lucien interfering is like, if you don't help them, I'm gonna take over and then we die, or shit like that. Give him an actual split personality. But, Lucien doesn't remember when he wakes up. He doesn't remember what Dark Schneider did. And Dark Schneider remembers what Lucien did, but not the other way around. And it's a bit uneven. And I mean, Lucien is a kid, so I don't know how much he actually understands, or would understand, even if Yoko told him what was going on, or if he would actually have a conversation with Dark Schneider. But we had enough teenage anime protagonists who were too wise for their age, so they could have easily made him just that. And that would have been an interesting contrast, because they're so different characters. They're so different from each other. They're complete opposites. So they could have done something with that. They didn't do it. The story is not finished. Actually, the ending is huge cliffhanger thing. But I don't know if they will go there in the future. Maybe. So far, like I said, they haven't been interested in it. Maybe like the first part of the story is more about Dark Schneider showing off and you learning more about him and his background and everything. because it's also a fight against the Dark Rebel army and stuff like that, his former comrades. And that is maybe was more interesting to the mangaka in the beginning, and maybe they would change Lucien's part in the story later on. There is a hint in is it the final episode or the penultimate episode? I don't know. But where actually Lucien is in the headspace of Dark Schneider and talks to him. Like for a very brief moment, or says at least one sentence to him. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But that's the first and so far only time that has happened. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they will go there in possibly, hopefully, future seasons. But so far they haven't. So that was a bit of a bummer. Because, yeah, that could have, spiced up the middle part of this show that was dragging a bit. So, like I mentioned before, Dark Schneider was the leader of the Dark Rebel army before Yoko's father sealed him away, which gives him an immediate connection to the main antagonists of the show. Their current leader, Kalsu, was his right-hand man and best friend. So was the ninja Master Gara. And the Dark Elf, Arshisne, was kind of his adopted daughter and something else, which is a problem, and we'll get to that. But, of course, this instantly makes this conflict much more interesting, because pretty much all the big antagonists have actual positive common history with the main character, which is rare. Like, I can't even think of a big shonen show where you have the Four Winds focus main antagonists who have, like, known and very common positive thoughts and memories of a certain character, at least to an extent, right? Or really like tight bound history with that character. I don't know. Can you think of a show where that is the case? Not offhand, I think. I can't.
Yeah, I'm plumbing the depths of my mind, and I'm just like, I got nothing.
I mean, there are some shows where it's like later there's a plot twist and like, hey, here's the main character. I guess you could count Fire Force because the main character's brother is, part of the main antagonistic faction. So that works, I guess. But he seems also to be brainwashed and everything. So it's not like he's the same character he was when they knew each other. So it's still a bit different. But I might be missing some very obvious things. So, but yeah, this just jumped out at me. It was like, oh, this is interesting. So he knows all of these bad guys that are attacking. So what is he going to do? Is he just going to kill them? They were friends at some point. I mean, and yeah, I definitely like that about the show. And they really do something with that during the parts of the story. The most prevalent being, because those are the characters he has fought at this point, is the Ninja Master Gara. They have the square off and everything, and he abducts Yoko and stuff like that, and Schneider has to rescue him. But, there's definitely some banter between them, and you notice that they were like buddies, and then, spoilers, I guess, though it happens pretty early, Schneider doesn't kill him, he makes Gara join his side, and it kind of becomes, in general, his modus operandi for the remainder of the series for a lot of the characters he meets, especially women, where it's like, hey, I don't want to kill you, wouldn't you just rather join me? And, like I said, the women are pining over him anyway, so that's pretty easy. And, so that's interesting. It's like, I mean, we have seen that stuff before a lot in shonen anime, where it's like, hey, this formerly evil guy now joins the good guy team. I mean, Dragon Ball is full of that. But it's also not like Vegeta and Goku weren't friends before, and he's only begrudgingly like on the good side for a while anyway, and then, he marries Bulma and whatever. But, it's still a different dynamic. And this is like, no, we were actually friends before, and I kind of value our former friendship more than I do our current goals or the current goals of my faction. And that's cool. That's like, okay. He's like, yeah, so, when other characters from the Dark Rebel army, like, appear, it's like, Gara, how could you betray us? He's like, I like Dark Schneider and he is more interesting than you guys, so fuck off. And we're like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, right, I can deal with that. It's like, that's a solid motivation.
You know what? You're fine. You're being honest.
Yes.
You're not lying to yourself.
Yeah, so, I mean, some characters might or might not join him that have different motivation for doing that. And there's definitely some interesting character dynamics going on with his former teammates. So far, he has, met 3 of them. And I won't tell you what all of them do. because I don't want to spoil the entire show in case you still want to watch it, people. But yeah, so that was a very interesting aspect of the show, which I can't remember having seen done in that way. It was like, hey, here's our main hero, and here are our villains, quote unquote, or at least antagonists, and they have common history and have like complicated feelings towards each other in different facets. So yeah, that's cool. Some good jokes in this, like I said before. I mean, a lot of the humor is derived from people like Yoko and the cowardly, shitty priests in the kingdom that react loudly to everything, which is very 90s comedy. Also, definitely not my favorite brand. I mean, One Piece is full of that, but I give that show the pass because I've been such a long-time fan. But still, not my most favorite thing in that show either. But there are some absolutely hilarious bits even in those scenes. I mean, I posted a screenshot in Discord the other day, so you know what I'm talking about, with the priest being like, this anime is over!
Yeah. God.
It's fucking great. One of my favorite jokes is when the princess, Sheila, offers to kiss Lucien to awaken Dark Schneider when Yoko is not available. And her father, the king, is totally against it, for obvious reasons, because of purity, blah, blah, blah. Also, Dark Schneider is a piece of shit. And then the high priest, Yoko's father, is like, this old man is confused. Get him to his chambers for good night's sleep. And the priest just lift up the king and carry him out of the room, and he's super distraught. What the fuck, but I'm the king! It's great. It's really great. It's like, this show has such great bits of random humor that I really, really liked. So, yeah, good stuff. The unfortunate side of this being 80s, 90s as hell means there are also some cringe, slightly rapey jokes in there, which I personally didn't need. And if you can't look past that, again, I get it. But I enjoyed the rest of what the show had to offer, so I tried to ignore it. Had to do the same for Seven Deadly Sins, because Meliodas is also a giant perv who loves to grow damn titties. But yeah.
Fine, don't worry about it.
Bastard goes even further. So yeah, it's definitely of that era. There's some unexpected great fall wall breaking in here as well. For example, when Gaara complains to Schneider, you cheater, you weren't supposed to be able to use another spell. And Dark Schneider very casually replies, you dumbass, you think shonen manga bother with foreshadowing? What? That made me hoot and holler. Like, Schneider also refers to himself as the main character all the time and shit like that. God. And even dresses as Santa Claus in one episode for some reason. There are definitely some good laughs in this show. I can't deny that. Some of the jokes are questionable and problematic, but there's just some stuff in there, especially when it comes to the fourth wall breaking, that just lifted me out of my seat. It's just like, I was laughing so hard because it was so unexpected in certain parts. But yeah, also funny thing, I guess Takehito Koyasu is just typecast as a vampire person now. Like, he was Dio in JoJo's, of course. He was Adam in Skate. He is Diamond in this. I'm surprised he wasn't prominently featured in the Japanese dub of the Castlevania Netflix series as Dracula or some other vampire.
I mean, he is a quintessential villain. He turned out to, be one of the bads in Dragon Quest. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Whenever will I watch that show? But yeah.
That's why I'm speaking in vague terms. But when you hear his voice, you won't be surprised either way.
I can imagine. But yeah, looking forward to it eventually. And he definitely has some fun in this role, especially somehow constantly finding new methods to pronounce the name of his henchman, Jodo, in the most ridiculous way possible, which might be the most obvious reason why they picked him, so he can relive his JoJo memory. But yeah, great stuff, as usual. Koyasu is a goat. Have to mention another problematic bit, as I foreshadowed. I mentioned Arshesne before. She's one of the 4 winds of destruction, the blah blah blah, the 4 generals of the Dark Rebel Army. You know the deal. A lot of shonen series have those. She and Schneider used, this is the less problematic part, she and Schneider use pet names for each other, Arsh and Darsh, respectively, which is very unfortunate or fortunate, depending on how you look at it, because Arsh even though spelled slightly differently, means ass in German. So every time Doug Schneider basically calls his ex an ass, I had to chuckle. And yes, you heard right, and this is where things get a bit problematic, and definitely icky. Not only is Arches Schneider's adopted daughter he raised, not only did they spend 100 years together, she is also kind of his ex-girlfriend. That makes it the most interesting and complicated relationship in this show, but it's also kind of incredibly gross. I mean, they're not blood related, and he ostensibly waited until she was at least the elf equivalent of 18, but still, I expected Game of Thrones would have desensitized me towards incest at this point, but nope, not there yet. I'm just out here using my don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, la 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 mantra to be able to keep on enjoying the show. And the series definitely isn't making it easier on me by glossing that little fact over. Quite the contrary, sadly. It's really leaning into it, which is so unnecessary. And it definitely took some mental effort on my behalf to get past the focus of certain episodes. Because holy shit, do they go there. And it's like, and not only like, hey, back in the day. No, they flash back several times to back in the day when she was still much younger. And they were like father-daughter, and now she is, older, and he's older, and he's like constantly, man, would I like to fuck you? And I don't consider you a daughter anymore. And it's like, what? That is problematic in so many ways. Yes. So, on the flip side of that, to get more positive again, Doug Schneider is definitely doing some pretty metal stuff for the ladies in his life, like Arches and Yoko in particular. There's an incredibly badass and at the same time hilarious moment that I won't spoil, but let's just say the man is willing to go the extra mile to keep his women safe. But yeah, like I said, if you have problems with these kind of themes, maybe don't touch this show, because it's definitely not hiding anything in that regard. Anyway, middle of the show drags a bit because Schneider's kind of fighting monster/harem version of the weak antagonist that he doesn't really have any attachment to, aside from either charming or forcing them over to his side after the fight. These episodes don't look so great. That's like the weakest part of the show. Like I said, after the first quarter until the last quarter, where it's like, it drags a bit, then he fights Diamond, and it's like, okay, this is funny because of Koyasu, but move it along, guys. But at least those kind of draggy episodes in the middle there made me appreciate the cruddy German dub of the show, which I checked out because
that exists.
Yes, of course. Netflix puts dubs out for all countries that it's big in. So yeah, there's a German dub for all the anime on that service.
Oh,
I think at least for the ones that where Netflix had a deal in producing a hand in producing the show. Not all the stuff maybe. But yeah, I checked it out because I decided to watch those weaker episodes on the side, and choosing a dub made it easier to still follow the story. And it was alright. Oh. It was definitely more funny than the English one in some regards, I would say. And the Japanese one in parts. At least when it came to certain... the dub being a bit loose in certain parts. And Schneider it sounded like the voice actor was riffing or... just ad-libbing, improvising in certain parts. And that was good. The performances themselves are really just, really trashy. But I guess that works with this kind of show. So I couldn't take anything seriously those characters were saying. And there was a lot more cursing, I feel like, than in the Japanese version. But yeah, I watched the German anime dub in however long, because I abstained from this for a long time. It was like, there are no good German dubs anymore. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a good dub, but it kind of works with this show, because this is a trashy show, trash stash material for sure, though in a good way.
You don't love the German dub of Naruto?
No.
That amazing intro song?
Yeah, that was
everybody
shitty.
Loves?
I'm trying to remember if the actual dub was decent. No, the dub was shitty too. They mispronounced all the names. They said Neji instead of Neji, and Sasuke instead of Sasuke. So, yeah. It was one of those. It's like,
no.
our dub director doesn't need to listen to the Japanese voice track to make informed decisions. No, most definitely not. Yeah,
You know, that makes me wonder. In all the old dubs of the Lupin series, Lupin would insist on calling Goemon. I wonder if that ever changed in the dubs of Part 5 and 6.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably some way to check it out. I don't know if Crunchyroll has the dub or Funimation, but yeah.
I think High Dive has some of the dubs, or they were working on it. I don't know. I gotta check.
But at least in Bastard, German dub got the names right. All of them, I think. I think No, the only one they weirdly mispronounced, but the English dub, I think, did that too, was Lucian. But also the Japanese it doesn't sound like they say Lucian at some point, just sounds like they say Lucy, I think. Or maybe that's the nickname that Yoko gives him. I don't know. But yeah, aside from that, all the names seemed correct. So that was good. And yeah, like I said, it was entertaining because I even went back in certain parts that I later watched on Japanese and went back to the German dub to see how they translated it because that was interesting to me. I was like, oh yeah, this is funny. This is a good way to adapt this kind of joke, I guess. But I still don't think I would be able to watch a serious show with actual good story and, stuff like. I mean, I didn't hate the story of Bassett, but it's trashy. There's some good character development in there and some neat dynamics because of the history between Dark Schneider and the Dark Rebel Army generals. But, it's still very basic shonen stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the tone and the aesthetic and everything is what made the show for me. And that's why I liked it. I liked the metal stuff. I liked the over-the-top violence. I liked how unapologetically 90s/80s it was and everything. So that was good. The story itself was a bit on the slim side, I would say. So, yeah. And like I said, it ends on a giant cliffhanger. Like, the old OVA covered the story until chapter 45 of the manga. This new adaptation so far has covered 69 chapters. The manga has 92 chapters and an epilogue, so I'd say they could do another 12 to 13 episodes. And it says to be continued at the end. So apparently they at least intend to finish this. I don't know if they will let them do that. I don't think Leiden Films ever finished Arslan so far. I don't think the new adaptation is finished the story. So we'll see if they get to do that with Bastard. I don't know how successful it was and how many people watch it in general. I haven't heard any buzz about it at all. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, if you want to check it out, despite all the negatives that I've mentioned, if you into the positive aspects that I mentioned, it's streaming on Netflix. Like I said, it's trash stash material for sure. Of the good trash stash, not the boring trash stash, but the hilarious stuff. Like, so over the top that it's entertaining. The middle part, like I said, drags a bit. But aside from that, it's a kind of quick-paced story with funny characters and some cool fights here and there, especially when the animation actually delivers in the first and last quarter of the show. And if you like a show, an action show that doesn't take itself seriously at all, with a very brash, very self-absorbed, dumb protagonist, but the show knowing that he is that, and, also taking him letting him take some heat for that. If you like all of that, maybe check out Bastard. I enjoyed it a lot. Some uncomfortable, horny stuff aside, I was the target audience for this, I think. So I don't know. I can't really speak for other people. It's like, I like metal. I like dark fantasy stuff. I like ridiculous, stupid stuff. I like 80s, 90s violence anime with ridiculous amounts of blood and gore that is so over the top that it's hilarious. I dig that shit because that's what I grew up on, I guess. But for you, your mileage might vary. I don't know. But I'd say if anything I talked about made it sound fun to you, go check it out. Maybe you'll have a surprisingly metal time.
Dreams are doomed to die in Night City, a futuristic Californian metropolis. As a teenager living in the city's slums, David Martinez is trying to fulfill his mother's lifelong wish for him to reach the top of Arasaka, the world's leading security corporation. To this end, he attends the prestigious Arasaka Academy while his mother works tirelessly to keep their family afloat. When an incident with a street gang leaves David's life in tatters, he stumbles upon Sandevistan cyberware, a prosthetic that grants its wearer superhuman speed. Fueled by rage, David implants the device in his back, using it to exact revenge on one of his tormentors. This gets him expelled from the academy, shattering his hopes of ever making his mother proud. After witnessing David's newfound abilities, the data thief Lucy Kushinada offers to team up with him, handing him a ticket to salvation. However, associating with Lucy introduces David to the world of Edgerunners, cyborg criminals who will break any law for money. Edgerunners often lose their lives if the cyberware does not break their minds first. But in his fight for survival inside a corrupt system, David is ready to risk it all. I'd like to thank the crew at MAL Rewrite for providing that very good summary of the show, which is, of course, about Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Surprise, I watched something that was on Netflix.
So did I. I mean, this Bastard, I feel like as much as we harp on Netflix, we're giving it its, I don't know, like, I feel dirty.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to hit the shower after recording this to rinse off the flick stench.
Yeah, I mean, I took a shower this morning. I might take another one.
I mean, if they had any hand in making these two shows possible, I owe them some gratitude, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So Netflix and CD Projekt Red kind of went to Trigger and said, hey, what if you make a show for us? And make a show they did.
Yeah. Ties into CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077? Is it that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Cyberpunk, the game, the show, whatnot, is all based on a tabletop game created in 1988 by one Mike Pondsmith. And there's been different iterations of it called Cyberpunk 2013, 2020, version 3.0, Cyberpunk Red. And this was, I think, also overseen by, I'm probably going to mispronounce it because I'm pretty sure it's a Polish name, Rafał Jaki, who worked on the game 2077 at CD Projekt Red. Mm-hmm. I don't think Trigger themselves need much introduction after, us talking about them, but the show was directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, worked on Black Rock Shooter, Darling in the Franxx, Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Space Patrol Luluco, Promare.
Mm-hmm. All good stuff?
Yes. I had trouble placing the music at first because it had sort of this weird familiar vibe. And then, right there, plain as day in the intro sequence, which is an awesome intro sequence, which kind of made me change my mind on Franz Ferdinand a bit, because it's never really big on his music, but I guess you could say the intro song is pretty fire.
Fire is more like it.
Yes.
I think that song was already in... When did I come across? What's that in? I think in Burnout 3 Takedown.
I think this is a re-recorded version of the song.
Oh, okay. Is the band named Franz Ferdinand, or is the lead singer's name actually Franz Ferdinand? I don't know.
I always kind of... okay, I guess it's the name of the band. I thought it was the name of the front man, but no, it's the name of... Franz Ferdinand are a Scottish rock band formed in Glasgow in 2002. There you go. No one in the band is actually named Franz Ferdinand.
It works really well with what we see in the OP, which steadily picking up the pace and everything with David going very slowly in the beginning and then hitting more of a stride and then falling apart and getting shot in the head, which is you're like, OP, did you just spoiler the end of the show?
No,
and we
shut
won't
up, don't
say
worry
if it
about
did, but it's kind of a glaring thing hitting you in the beginning of the first few seconds of the... Though, I think the OP is not shown in the first episode, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, so in the second episode, it's like, what? Okay, we'll see how this turns out.
But yeah, like I said, the music sort of struck me as being oddly familiar, and then in the intro sequence, it's like, oh, it's just Akira Yamaoka. Okay, cool. Who hasn't done a lot in anime, but he did Somali in the Forest Spirit, and he's done...
It's really good.
And he's done, maybe you've heard of Silent Hill.
Occasionally.
He's done a whole bunch of stuff for Konami, including Gradius, Sparkster. Apparently did the music for No More Heroes too, which I didn't realize.
That fits, yeah. That makes sense. There are a lot of vocal track needle drops in this soundtrack. More prevalent than in other anime, I would say. So familiar tracks also. It's like, some of these I think I've heard before.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of the music is lifted from the game. I think some of our friends would probably be able to tell better. Mm-hmm. Actually, have you played the game?
No, not yet. I mean, I was interested in it when all the trailers hit and everything, but then I heard really bad things when it launched, and I was like, I'm going to wait until they release the enhanced edition or whatever, or patched it into Oblivion so that it's actually playable, which now seems to be the case, at least for PC. I don't know about the consoles. I don't know how the PS5 version or updated PS4 version for PS5 works.
I think the console versions, according to Digital Foundry anyway, are in a much better place than they were originally.
That's good. So, I should put it on my wish list. I don't think there's a standalone PS5 version yet. I think there's only a free digital upgrade from the PS4 version to the PS5 version. So
I guess, I'm not sure about.
Yeah, but eventually I'll play it. I think immediately, even before they made Keanu Reeves come out on stage to promote the game, I thought the setting was really up my alley, and I was like, oh, this looks cool, and the gameplay looked really fun and everything, and it looked like a more wacky version of Deus Ex, and I joined that, at least the third game on that franchise. So I was like, I might go and create a character and just do some crazy shit in that universe. So eventually this will happen. And I mean, you haven't played it either yet, right?
No, I think I bought it on Steam a while back when it was on sale. And much like the rest of my Steam library.
Everyone's Steam library.
I mean, it's playable on Steam Deck, so it's not like I can't not play it.
Yeah. So, eventually we'll hit that. And so we don't know how many connections there are. I mean, there are some. I looked it up. Like, one of the big antagonists of the show is also an antagonist in the game. That's why I'm aware. And they give you a really good reason for wanting to play the game to kick his fucking ass.
I guess there was also like an Edgerunners update. I don't know exactly what that added to the game.
I think
but
it's mostly cosmetics. So you can now basically create David in the game if you want to, or any of the characters really from the show. I think. I don't know if there's actual story content. I don't think so.
Let's see. Let's detour a little bit to briefly look at the patch notes. Okay. Additional content, wardrobe, new gigs, new weapons, and cross progression between platforms. Okay.
I think in the show there are some side characters from the game appear in the show, or vice.
Added some secrets related to the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime series to be discovered in Night City, including new equipment and new photo mode features. Okay, so it's kind of tucked away. Yeah.
So that will be interesting if you have already watched the show. And I think if you've played the game and then watched the show, then you have a lot more Easter eggs that you pick up on, and locations. I have a friend who is a giant fan of the game, who has I don't know how many runs he had made through the games and all difficulties and all different specs and whatever. Like
Wow.
at five at this point. I don't know. It's ridiculous. And he has also watched the show. And he's not into anime generally, like really at all. But he's like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And he liked it a lot. And he was like, yeah, they definitely were able to catch the atmosphere of the game in the series. He was like, yeah, there was a lot of stuff where I was surprised how good they transposed this from the game to the anime. And it was like, yeah, this is exactly how it is in the game. This is great. I recognize this. And he really liked that. So cool stuff. I really like that. I mean, it was overseen by the producers of the game and partly writers, I guess. So that makes sense that they would have an eye on that and make sure that stuff is up to par and everything. So, but it's good that it worked out. I really like that. Like, we have no familiarity with the game aside from the trailers and everything, so we can't tell how well it worked. But it also it works really well as a standalone thing, in my opinion. Even if you are not aware that the game even exists, it's its own story with its own set of characters that introduces you to this universe and its rules and how stuff just runs in Night City, which is grim. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the most cynical, grim shit that you've ever seen. Like, not much of a spoiler because it happens in the first episode, but David's mom dies in a car accident. Well, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And her urn and ashes come out of a dispenser.
Yeah, that immediately was like, oh no.
It's like this is a fucking machine where you just usually get a can of Pepsi from or something, and it's just, the urn just drops out of the bottom. Like, this is the most bleak shit. It's deeply fucked up. And the show continues on that path. There's a lot of stuff in there where you blink twice and like, did I just see that? Did that just happen? It's like, are they really going there? Because it's just so fucking bleak. But partially in a fun way. It's like, this is crazy. It's like, wow, okay. In general, like the theme of where they go with, the prosthetics and the, people equipping their body with more and more machinery until they are actually more machine than man or woman, and how far that goes and what that entails and everything. The show is really not holding back when it comes to that. Like, not at all. And the visuals too. Like, this show is really, I think this is the most violent thing I've ever seen from Trigger. Like, I can't even think of another show where they actually show blood in general, or not even that much, but blood. I try to remember. Was there much blood in Brand New Animal? I don't know. Maybe. But aside from that, not much in Gurren Lagann, if I recall. There was some, but not like super over the top, if I remember correctly. But in this, there are people getting mowed down left and right. There are decapitations everywhere, dismemberment, it's just guts flying everywhere. This is like the perfect complementary piece to Bastard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wondered, you wrote me, I had watched it already, and you were like, okay, I'm starting this now. And you were like, holy fucking shit, the first episode went
from 0 to 100 like instantly.
Yes, and it continues that stride, kinda. It only gets more crazy in later aspects of the show. I would say the final episode is insanity, is in a fun way.
Well,
but
the very first episode, we open on this cyber psycho going absolutely berserk, and it is, oh jeez, what it is.
Yeah, cyber psychos are a very important aspect of this universe, I guess. So if you get cybernetic enhancements in this show, you also have to take a certain medicine to battle the side effects, I guess. And these get progressively worse over time, and also the more enhancements you add to your body. And people who can't handle it anymore, who lose their fucking mind because their mind can't just deal with controlling their their brain can't deal with controlling their normal body and their cybernetic body anymore. It's just too much of a strain, and they just start to see start to see hallucinations, and they just go fucking insane, which is depicted very interesting in the show, where people get like these shaky, weird eyes, like double eyes, which it seems like they're moving out of their body or to the side or stuff like that, like you're watching through old 3D glasses or shit like that. And we have several characters in the show, like kind of going through that, side characters and everything. And yeah, that's when they go cyber psycho. And generally, there's no coming back from that as far as we know. Like there might be, if you get rid of your implants and try to, dial back and give your brain time to heal. But all the characters we meet in the show kind of don't do that. So we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this show is predicated on the compounding of bad decisions.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, bad decisions, but also understandable decisions. There's a lot of elaboration on what drives people in this show. Like every person in this has a chip on their shoulder for one reason or another, and that manifests in different ways. And David is, I guess, the worst when it comes to that, because he gets like 2 or 3 big chips on his shoulder at some point. I get to that later. But yeah, he, of course, he loses his mom. He is from a poor family. Like you said, mom is basically trying to give him a good education, but they can't afford much else. And, he's suffering in school because all the actual rich kids bully him, and he doesn't want to be there and everything. And then he loses his mom in a horrific way, and he's like, so now what? He's peddling, VR porn and shit like that, some kind of VR escapism, which is also big in this universe. It's porn or death of other people, like Faces of Death shit and stuff like that, which you can experience through their eyes. That's actually how the show opens up. David watching or sampling, I guess, the final moments of that cyber psycho John just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like peddling that through an acquaintance of his, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And that's how he makes some money on the side.
Yeah.
That's in this, and that's what he does. But it's, not enough to get around, I guess, after his mom goes. And yeah, then he kind of finds this implant in this high-grade, as it turns out, military implant in his mom's things when he rummages through them, and because he's so fed up with everything and wants to start over, and because he's very willing to step over the edge, which is made very clear from the get-go. Like, you couldn't be more in your face, the show couldn't be more in our face with that, where it's like one of the first things we see of David is where he's standing at the top of a building, or the building that he lives in, and just looks down over the ledge, and there's like garbage, I think, at the bottom. And he's just contemplating, should I drop down or should I not? And he just drops down. He steps over and just lets himself fall and lands in the garbage, and then he goes on, walks it off. But immediately it's like, oh, this is what this kind of character is. Like, he's willing to go there. He's like, he doesn't care enough, or maybe he cares too much in certain aspects to not take his own well-being into account. But yeah, that's what he does, and he decides he wants to start new life. He wants to be something, wants to be stronger, wants to show other people who have treated him badly to shut the fuck up, especially the people in school. He just installs that high-grade military implant, this Sandevistan, what was it called?
Sandevistan.
And yeah, it turns out he kind of seems to have a knack for it, meaning like he's able to use it without side effects more than he should be able to. He seems to be kind of like tuned to it naturally, but also that gives him a bunch of overconfidence, where it's like, hey, apparently I'm special. Hey, apparently I can just do this without any big repercussions. And it's pretty clear that this is not the kind of show where that is true. At least not in the long run.
Well, and not even immediately, though.
Yeah. So that definitely comes into play. I mean, yeah, there's nosebleed, but there are also serious repercussions, right? Where it's like, okay, you can imagine that happening to him later too. But yeah, so that is the main setup of this. And then, like John mentioned in the plot summary, he runs into this thief Lucy, and they kind of hit it off. Or, well, initially it seems maybe they don't, but he kind of gets introduced to this kind of gang of hers, and yeah, then he gets this in this gang. He gets like this kind of makeshift family, this family replacement, I guess, after his mom dies, and we go from there, and that's his new way of life, and things escalate from there because they have a certain contractor and everything, and yeah, so. This is how the show goes and gets bigger and bigger and stuff like that, as is, I guess, a thing with Trigger in general. But yeah, really interesting. I would classify this as kind of a tragedy.
I absolutely would.
Yeah, I mean, it works if you want to see it with a big T. I mean, the trajectory of certain characters is very predictable in this show, even before, no, I don't want to spoil that, but even without considering what is happening in the OP and everything, but, there are some things in this show that are very evident from the get-go and where the show is going with certain characters, because that's how they are set up.
They foreshadowing is laid on pretty thick.
Yeah, it's pretty on the nose. Like, we try to, swerve around certain big-time spoilers, but you see certain characters, and you kind of know where they will go.
Yeah.
And there are definitely also some surprises here, but some of these characters where it's like, okay, this character is behaving this kind of way, and I can see where they're going with this. And then mostly these do. And it's kind of like you said, all of these characters' fates are set by bad decisions.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of funny because it's not too dissimilar from Cowboy Bebop in that way, don't you think?
There are definitely some similarities with Cowboy Bebop.
Because Spike, I love Cowboy Bebop. I still love Cowboy Bebop to this day. But everything about Spike's existence is predicated on a continuous series of bad decisions.
Yes, and I mean, they kind of, that fits, right? There are definitely some similarities between David and Spike. Kind of how they get into crime, I guess, and how they start to lead their lives, and, what kind of drags them down in a way or enslaves them, right? And what they do and how that influences their way of life and everything, and that they can't let go of certain things, and that how that kind of might be their doom or not, right? So yeah, that kind of fits. I feel like there's a lot of, also in tone, I feel like the melancholic parts of both Cowboy Bebop and Cyberpunk Edgerunners are pretty similar.
Yeah, true.
Both when it comes to, hey, here's the contrast. Like when David joins the crew, his new crew, it's like for 1 or 2 episodes, like, hey, this life seems to pan really out. Like, works really well. Like, here, these are the good times, just fun characters hanging out together. It's not going to stay that way because that's like episode 4 and we have 10 episodes. And this is not that kind of show. It's like, hey, only fun roms from this point on. The show makes that very clear in the first episode. This is about how fucked up this city is and this system is and this world is, and like capitalism rules everything. And if you are not a top member of society, the medics will just let you rot on the street. If you got into a car accident, if you're not insured, they just will go and just let you die. That's how this fucking city works. And that is so fucking, like, this is woven through all of the plot lines in this city. Like,
truly the end game of capitalism.
Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely one of the aspects of the show. And, this is about a character who chooses a different route, who's not going a different route, not the route that his mother had seen for him. She wanted him to have a better life than her. She wanted him to climb the ranks through good education and enjoy the ranks of the biggest company in the city, like the megacorp. What is his name? Arakawa or something like that? Arasaka, right. Which are also the people behind a lot of the bad shit that is going on in this town.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted that for him, to be part of that company, to have a good life. But he very quickly decides, no, that's not the life I want to lead. This is, I want to surf on the fringes. I want to live my life my own way and not adhere to the system. And
he did it.
He absolutely did. He absolutely does. Like, he goes all the way. I mean, that might also be fronting again, you know? He might be like, he's concentrating on a very specific, he's concentrating on very specific goals. First, he wants to make his mom happy. Then she dies. Then he wants to make another person happy he meets after quickly. And that kind of stays his main goal until the end. But also, another person comes into his life that he also has, you know, feelings towards because of he didn't have a father figure, I guess, in his life. We don't learn anything about his father, right? Is he even mentioned?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe in passing very briefly, but...
Yeah, but he, you know, when he joins Main's gang, that Main kind of becomes his father figure. And, you know, David starts smiling a lot. He's obviously in love with Lucy, who keeps him at arm's length for a while because she's afraid he'll get himself killed, understandably so, considering how he behaves. But yeah, it's like, that's kind of, are the good parts, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he has found his new family and everything. But also, with that comes some things. He wants to fulfill the wishes and the hopes other people and expectations other people set for him. And he's very, very much a slave to that, a victim to that. And he can't kind of disconnect himself from that, and tries to find his purpose to that instead of actually making his own way. He also always connects making his own way to fulfilling the wishes of other people instead of trying to actually fight what is the thing that he wants to do for himself. Right? That's kind of his shackles, and it stays that way for the entire show. Every time some person leaves his life, he tries to realize their dream, or even before they leave his life, he tries to realize their dream, and you know, he clings to the person still closest to him and makes their goals his own instead of actually trying to find the one thing that defines him and his own goal in life. So, yeah, a person like that is not necessarily looking out for their own good, for better or worse. And that also means that they are set on a certain trajectory that you can predict pretty easily. And yeah, that's David in a nutshell, I think. And that makes it all the more tragic, of course, because it's a very sympathetic character. Of course, he does some vile shit in this, kinda. You can argue it away by saying, well, you know, it's gang warfare, and he kind of only shoots bad people. Not only bad people, I guess, but, you know, some of that is also, you know.
I mean, the ends don't always justify the means.
Exactly,
but,
you know. But they are outlaws. Edgerunners are outlaws. And that's how they behave, and they don't really care. They don't try to hurt in a sense, but shit might happen, right? But still, despite all of that, David is a very engaging main character. And it's very harsh to see him go down a certain road very quickly, and you noticing him like, oh man, you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
Should we go there? And not only him, like, I feel like all the characters in Main's gang are, at least for the most part, super sympathetic. I mean, there's some swerves in here and there, and you could argue that some of them are just douchebags from the get-go, but entertaining douchebags at the least. And some are downright amazing. I love Rebecca. I think Rebecca's
so great.
Rebecca's amazing.
So apparently, Netflix didn't want her in the show, and Trigger was like, shut up. Shut your mouth. She's in there.
Gotta have a foul-mouthed loli in there. Maybe that's the Trigger thing.
I don't know. I think she's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And I only say lowly, but I think she's older than David. I'm not sure. I mean, she doesn't look like it, but yeah, but it's funny. They have kind of like this. I mean, there's this clear admiration of David for Lucy, and he definitely is in love with her, and that's the person he's pining for. But there's also on the side, there's Rebecca, who's definitely pining for him. Like after a while, you notice pretty quickly that she definitely likes David a lot. But it never becomes this really big love triangle or anything, because David is dead set on Lucy. It's just like this unrequited love on the side of Rebecca, which is also kind of sad. She copes with that, but she's not what he's looking for. She's more like a little sister to him, I guess, for the most part. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I messed up. Rebecca was initially not part of the scripts written by CD Projekt Red, but was later created by Studio Trigger, who convinced them with her character design. That's the story.
Not only, I mean, her character design is great, but also her character she's having so much fun all the time. Like, when she just lets loose and is just going fucking crazy, that's just her thing. She's like super, like this really manic, crazy gun-toted, dynamite-slinging Lady Killbot in a way. And she's having blood red eyes and shit like that. And she's just fun. And the final, and there's some parts in the story where she like really shines. She's not in all of the episodes. Like in the middle part of the show, they don't show her for a while, and then she comes back and gets more important. And gets more screen time and everything, and that I really like that, because I was fond of her from the beginning, where it's like, she's a fun character, right? And then by the end, it's like, really, man, she's a really fun character. Just her enjoying mayhem and chaos so much. And I don't know, some people maybe found her annoying, I guess, because she's very loud and she can be obnoxious, but I found her to be very, very fun and sympathetic. And you just see that the gang means a lot to her, and especially David means a lot to her, and she shows that. And it's so cool. And you feel sad for her, because she's like, man, I don't necessarily ship it, because that's, but she kind of deserves to be happy, right? She definitely, more than anyone else maybe in this show. I mean, I also want happiness for David and Lucy. And Lucy definitely loves David, too. She, like I said at the beginning, she's like keeping him at arm's length and being like, no, I don't want to actually get into that, because he's a stupid kid and he's going to get himself killed quickly. And she probably has seen this a lot of times already, when, some new member got added to Main's gang and just was overzealous and got himself killed. And in the beginning, she expects David to pan out the same way. So I can understand her hesitation, but she immediately shows him something that seems to be very near and dear to her heart, and seems to be her biggest wish, which she probably hasn't done. At least it seems like, judging from the conversation David has with the other members of the gang, she hasn't shown that anyone else. So immediately there seems to be a connection between the two. She's just very hesitant to make that something real, because she's afraid she might lose David. But yeah, it's, that's really interesting. I feel like all the character dynamics in this show, especially when it comes to David and the most important players in Main's gang, are really, really strong. I don't know how you felt about that. I feel like the conversations are really good. The dialogue writing is really good. Like, what the characters think about, what they talk about when they talk about their dreams and about their place in society and everything. I felt like that was really well realized, and you could really quickly get a grasp on what these characters are. Not only in a stereotypical manner, what I mentioned before when I said, like, hey, you see these characters, you recognize the archetype, and you know where they're probably going in the story, but also in terms of the little nuances where it's like, hey, where did these characters come from? Why did they make the decisions they made? And how did they end up here? And I thought the show did that really well, writing-wise. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I think some of my favorite moments were, there was one episode in particular where Maine and David are just like, they're just talking with each other about, themselves and the crew and Lucy. And it's just really good really good, like relationship building with two of them. It really felt like, they were building toward the whole father-son dynamic. It was great. I liked that a lot in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that a lot too. And just dialogue in general is interesting in the show because at least in the English dub, I think they try to adhere to the speech patterns of the game.
Yeah,
so you hear or the universe in general, I guess, the Cyberpunk universe.
You hear a lot of stuff like Nova and Preem and Choom and whatnot. Yeah. You hear the lingo from the game.
And I think they transferred it to the subtitles too. I'm not even sure if the subtitles might just be dub titles.
Some of them are, some are not. It's weird.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it was really bad. It almost seemed like they used an auto-translation service or something like that. There was some really bad stuff, but they apparently fixed it afterwards. So now it's just partially dub titles mixed with some adjustments to make it sound not as wacky and weird. But yeah, I like that. I like that there was a special way of talking in this city. Some of it, of course, you have to get used to, but that reminded me a bit of Batman Beyond, where they also say stuff like "shui," right? As being cool. Yeah. So yeah, and that is also like a very cyberpunky show. So that fits. That I recognized that. So I felt like after a while I got very used to them talking the way they do. So that was pretty cool. And that, of course, needs to also kind of be woven naturally into the dialogue to not make it sound like the most ridiculous dumb thing. And I feel like they did that pretty well, even in sub form. Like at the beginning it's okay, this is interesting and different, but after a while it becomes kind of natural. It's like, oh, that's just how they talk here. And yeah, it's pretty neat. We haven't really talked about the animation yet, I think. Which is, of course, a big part of an anime. And this is definitely better looking than Bastard for its entire runtime. Because, it's a Trigger show. What did you expect? Come on. It's a Trigger show on a probably very high budget for a TV series. Because that's what it looks like. This is, especially considering some of the later episodes or the final episode or whatever. Like, there's maybe some shortcuts. Like maybe the conversation you mentioned before between David and Maine, where they just sit in the sun and you don't even see their faces. I think that is also, a directional choice, but also they don't have to show their mouths moving. They just show them as shadowy silhouettes, even, I think. So they maybe do some shortcuts here and there, but aside from that, like the action is ridiculous in this show, as expected from Imaishi. It's so over the top. Like there's high contrast. The show has like this high contrast palette with a lot of neon colors to get the look right. And I think it looks great. And everyone who has not everyone, but a lot of people in this universe who use cybernetic enhancements have special abilities through that. And David's main one is that he can move so quickly that it kind of looks like he's slowing down time. So he moves like the $6 million man. It's like very, very, everyone very slowly around him. He moves a bit faster, I guess. And it's a very neat effect they use for that, where it's like this, he has these after images behind him when he moves. And that's also a really cool thing. And yeah, the look of the show in general is just awesome. Like really cool cityscapes, like really dark but neon lit streets and everything you want from like a cyberpunk city, as you imagine it, if you've seen something like Blade Runner or even played the game of Cyberpunk 2077, right? So I feel like the show gets the look down, and the animation is consistently great, very expressive, as again expected for Trigger. It's more cartoony, I guess, considering what the source material is and everything. So you wouldn't necessarily expect a game like Cyberpunk, which has pretty realistic graphics. Like
it's kind of funny looking at the promo art they put out for the 1.6, the Edgerunners update, where it's David in his anime form sitting on a motorcycle with one of the characters in like the CG, like the model that they use in game behind him. So, but the weird thing is, it feels like it fits.
Interesting. Well, and they did a good job. Good job of just, assuming from what people have told us, they just got the style of the game down in the series. So there was some adapting probably just to fit the more flat, quote unquote, style that is also very inherent to Trigger stuff, I guess.
Yeah, a friend of ours was saying that, Santo Domingo is, it's accurate to how it's portrayed in the game, so.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, it's a really, really good looking show, and the action is terrific. Like, it's incredibly well directed. The fight choreography is insane. There's so much fucking blood in this show. There's so much ridiculous violence.
And nudity.
Yes, right. Not like Bastard where they don't show everything. They show everything in this show. Like, from top to bottom. No holds barred. And yeah, that kind of also a first for Trigger, I think, really.
Yeah.
Not really seen that in any of their other shows. So that was interesting to see. And I feel like they did a good job. It doesn't feel like it's too lingering. I feel like it's not too objectifying. I mean, yeah, they're just... It feels like in certain parts it's matter-of-factly. It's not like there's like these huge camera pans over naked bodies or everything. It's just, no, they're here on the screen. Some parts are there when characters are lying in the bathtub or stuff like that. And there's, there is just a tracking shot of that. But aside from that, you just see characters, nude characters, men and women, sitting next to each other in bed or whatever. And it's just like, that's how it is. That's how these people just spend their life.
Yeah.
And it's treated very matter-of-factly. It's not like, oh shit, here come the titties. It's really like, no, this is how it is. This is how it is. And I think that's how it is in the game. I think Cyberpunk 2077, the game, has a lot of nudity in it too. At least, I don't know if you can create a nude character in that game.
I know.
At least topless, I think.
I know one of the big things was, you can customize your character down to the genitalia, and it's like,
Yeah, but I don't know if you actually see it, because you also don't see, I think it's a first-person shooter.
Right.
So you don't see your character aside from the menu, I think. So
I wonder if there's a mod for that, or if they're working on a mode for third-person view.
Might be. Yeah, that might be a third-person mode.
Because I know a lot of people are like, wait, so you spend all this time making your character and you don't get to actually see them? Which,
Good point.
I get that. But it's sort of like, well, shrug.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I mean, it's an FPS, but I guess there's also a lot of like RPG stuff in there, and there's some looting going on. Like, for instance, you can get the Sandevistan mod for your character, and it is a status effect that slows down time over a set duration.
Time, yeah. And I heard from my friend that I mentioned earlier that it's the most OP shit. So if you max out that path, you're unbeatable, even on hardest difficulty. It might be a tough road to get to that point in the beginning stages of the game, but once you cross that threshold, you're set. Like, apparently this is the most ridiculous shit if you actually go that, if you max out that skill tree or whatever. So, yeah. And you can see yourself in mirrors, so it makes sense there too that you can design your characters like you want him or her to look. So, but yeah, in the show there is a lot of cyborg parts and there are a lot of fleshy parts. You see the outside and the inside of several people. So yeah, be aware of that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought that the show didn't really hold itself back in any regard was a good thing, because that kind of fits the very crass nature of this universe when it comes to how the people in the city are treated and everything. So if it would have put itself on a leash, that wouldn't have really fit the theme of the show, of the universe, of all the characters and everything. So I'm glad they went all in with all of it, with all they had, with the nudity, with the violence, with characters doing really bad shit in parts and everything, and characters dying in really horrific ways. So that all fits the the things. Like, shout out to the guy on the sidewalk fucking his flashlight with VR goggles in broad daylight. Living his best life, maybe. I don't fucking know. Like, I think we see that guy several times, even. I don't know. Who's just sitting there and having his VR goggles on. It's just, yep, that guy is definitely fucking a sex toy. Was really funny. Like, even small details like that was that's how that guy spends his life. And yeah, it's got some neat cynical humor in there as well, most definitely. And that I enjoyed that too, and all the stuff that the characters say, and of course, and the story is good too. I mean, it's kind of pretty basic, aside from all the knowing where the characters probably will go, will end up. But it's a gang story. It's a crime downfall, crime gang, whatever story. We have seen a lot of those, and it's pretty clear that it's that from the get-go, or at least once David joins Main's gang. But what it does with that is very well, and it's a breezy show. Like, it's 10 episodes, and they go by so fast. Like, the show doesn't drag at any point.
Yeah,
during its runtime.
I was worried I wouldn't get through it, and I remember telling you, yeah, I guess I'll try and watch 2 episodes a day. I watched 5 episodes per day across 2 days.
Yes, it's like, it's very addictive. And what it reminded me a lot, and what, if you like Cyberpunk Edgerunners, you might also want to check out, is Akudama Drive. Like, these shows also vary a lot, just in terms of setup, in terms of setting, in terms of characters. These shows share a lot of commonalities. Like,
oh yeah,
absolutely. And I enjoyed that show a lot too. So
it was great.
Yes, absolutely. So if you like Cyberpunk Edgerunners, please check out Akudama Drive. This will probably be up your alley. Even if you came from the game or like, that's why I watched that show. Maybe also check out that other show, because it might really, play to your sensibilities. And it definitely did to mine. I feel like I would watch more Cyberpunk Edgerunners or Cyberpunk anime in that style. I don't think we'll get another one. I think this is a one-off thing, but maybe another animation studio, maybe in the same universe. Who knows? But even if we don't, I'm really happy that we got this one, because it's a lot of fun. It's also harrowing, and it's very sad in parts, and that is also a good thing, because it making me feel that way means that it did a lot of good character writing and everything. And even, despite the ridiculous setup, how the world is actually structured and it being so over the top and everything, you would think that would make it easier to distance yourself from what is going on in the show. But I feel like the character writing is so good in this that you are emotionally engaged at some point, because most of these characters are so fucking sympathetic, even though there are outlaws and, mow down a bunch of fucking people. But everyone in this show, in this universe, does that. And it's like, man, David, I wish you had made some different decisions at some point. I mean, yeah. You could argue that all of this could have been avoided, also where it's at certain points by some characters talking to each other and formulating their inner thoughts better. It's also that kind of story that might annoy some people. It's like, just talk to each other, but it's not. I feel like it never goes to a place where it's like, man, this annoys me, or this frustrates me to no end, because I don't understand why these characters can't say certain things to each other. No, I feel like the character writing was good enough to make me believe that, okay, the people are holding back certain things because of very valid reasons, at least in their eyes. Not necessarily in my eyes, but considering what characters they are and how they were brought up, how they went about their life until this point, it makes sense that they would make this decision, even if it's a bad decision. But I can see what informed their decision and what made them go that route instead of maybe the wiser one, right? Like you could argue that all of what happens kinda in the back half of the show could have been avoided by Lucy telling David about certain things that she found out, and but this is how these kind of story works. This is how drama works. This is how tragedy works in a way, that characters can't look past certain things and can't move past certain maybe preconceived notions that they have and their own certain agendas and the way they see the world. And also that Lucy doing that probably wouldn't have stopped David from trying to make her realize her dream, which is what he attaches himself to in once he meets her and once she shows him what her dream is. And I guess the most tragic thing, I don't know how much of a spoiler that is, but I want to bring it up because it grabbed me by the end of the show, kind of. The most tragic thing is that it isn't her dream anymore at the end of the show. Like what he wants to try to realize and everything, and what she wants, what he thinks she wants to realize. Like I think her new dream at some point is just to live happily together with David. But as I mentioned before, David has this chip on his shoulder. One could say he's suffering from survivor's guilt. Like, he couldn't realize the dream of two people very important to him when they were alive. So he stubbornly and selfishly tries to push a dream on Lucy he thinks she needs when all she actually wants or needs is him. And that's the most tragic part of that he can't see that. And kind of the show very much ends, the final image of the show kind of very much brings that across, where it's like, no, that's not what you wanted anymore. That wasn't the right decision. You maybe thought it was, and it definitely was the easy, clear path to take without taking your own feelings and your own life into consideration. But it was not what she ultimately wanted. And yeah, that's the most harrowing part of the show. But it's good. It's really good. It works really well. Yes, it's not that it's annoying. It's not that it's frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating in some parts, but in a good way, in an understandable way. It's not like misunderstandings everywhere. No, these characters kind of are on the same level after a while. But due to certain reasons, they just can't bring their real feelings across to each other. And that's ultimately what kind of puts them on a bad trajectory. And then, yeah, that's tragedy. And that's good tragedy. That's how it's supposed to work. That with, people not being able to sway people in a certain direction in a positive way because of their own hold-ups and their own baggage and their own monkey on their back. And yeah, that's what this show is about in more ways than one. That's what this world is about even. And how Night City works and everything. And, there's a reason they pretty early on, like, I don't know if the first or second episodes where they even say that, I think is, I think that Doc says that. Nobody remembers the life of a cyberpunk. It's how they die that makes them a name.
Yep.
And it's like, all right. Okay.
Yep.
It's that kind of show. I get it.
No, shut up though. You don't.
But yeah, that's how it is. Despite all that, despite being a bit predictable in certain aspects, I think the show makes the most out of it. I think it does a really good job of filling us into these characters and this world and making us feel like we live in that too with these characters and feel for these characters. More than others, some more than others, of course. But I definitely felt for David. I definitely felt for Lucy. I definitely felt for Rebecca. Those were my three main anchor points in this story. But then also we have good side characters like Maine and Dorio, and you understand all of these characters. And then you have funny dipshits like Dog, or isn't he voiced by Kenjiro Tsuda in the Japanese version? I think so, yes.
I'm honestly not sure because I watched the dub for the show.
Yeah. Yes, you did. And I think you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, dub was great. Like, Zach Aguilar was really great as David, and didn't expect to hear Giancarlo Esposito as Faraday.
That's a good fit.
But the line reads were a little weird, but I feel like for Faraday in particular, it was in line with the very cagey character that he is.
Yeah, he's kind of the main antagonist of the show, I guess. I mean, that's also very obvious from the first time you see because he's the creepiest motherfucker ever, like with his 3 fucking eyes on one side.
Yeah.
Like, yep, there he is. That's him.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about him, but Faraday is Maine's what they call fixer, and he brings jobs to him. And there's not really an option of whether or not to do them. It's just, this is your job to do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's also really fun that he's not like this ultimate master plan villain, really. He's also still like considering, when you look at him and you look at the people in Arasaka doing wild shit, he still feels like he is a very narrow scope when it comes to his ambition and his plans. And you always get the feeling he's like, yeah, it worked out for you this time, but it might have just gone the other way if you had got here a second later or shit like that. You are really skating the line here, dude. Like, you're not a mastermind criminal. Like, this all pans out for you. Just a lot of it is by chance. And that is also kind of hilarious. And it might not go that way all the time, so who knows? Yeah, Faraday is also a fun part. Like, in a way that you really want to punch that guy's face in. But, that's what good villains are. Yeah. I feel like he's even better than what kind of is the other big antagonist, because you don't really have a connection to that guy, I guess, much. Unless you played the game, probably. But Faraday is in a lot of this show. So you definitely learn to hate that guy. So yeah, good stuff. I enjoyed him, and I can imagine Giancarlo Esposito doing some interesting stuff with his lines. But yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about the show. Since we don't want to spoil anything more than I already have, probably.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk around certain things in particular with this show.
Yeah. There's conspiracy, there's corporate warfare, there's here capitalism is bad.
Kind of also, like real life.
Yeah, thrown in your face like as a message. This is the final stage. This is what this will look like if this is what we will continue on, if you leave our society to be like that. That's what the show is definitely saying, and I assume I assume that's also one of the main themes of the tabletop game and of the video game. It's like, here, people losing their humanity in this inhumane society, right? And people just trying to find a perspective and a drive in life by turning themselves into machines that they have become in the eye of the upper class of this society a long time ago. Disposable machinery. That's what humans are in this city, at least those of lower class. So they turn themselves into actual machines to find their own way and to actually show the higher ups the middle finger on occasion. That's what the show is, and it's great. It's great. It's a banger. Another banger on Netflix. I mean, I guess there are not that many, but this is definitely one. If you want to check it out, that's where you can watch it. And both of us definitely recommend it. I mean, be ready for some capital T tragedy, but there will be some enjoyable sights on the way. And like I said, even if you have a cry, it will be a good cry, because these characters will be engaging to you. And I never felt like I wasted my time, even if I pretty early on knew where most of these characters were going. There were some surprises, like I said, but a lot of these I was like, yep, okay, all right, yeah, I can, And that's where they ended up. And despite that, I never felt like I was wasting time or I was disappointed or I was like bored in any second of the show. It was just a blast all the way through. It was super entertaining. It was fast paced. It was riveting from beginning to end. And it seems like you felt the same way, John.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Not sure where to rank this among other Trigger shows, but I think this one's pretty close to the top. It's a top 3, I think.
Yeah. If you want to count Gurren Lagann, which was still a Gainax show, but technically is Trigger, so I would put it up there. I'm trying to think of the others. I mean, Promare is also pretty high up there. Kill la Kill. But I think, yeah, you're right. Just in terms of story quality, because I mean, the script has a different feel to it in this one, a bit more grown up feel. This even disregarding all the ridiculous stuff that is happening on screen, right? And cartoony stuff, but it feels more like some of the dialogue in here feels more adult. And I don't mean adult in terms of, hey, there's a lot of cursing thrown around and, you know, hey, sex and violence everywhere. No, I mean, it feels like this is a more adult story with characters at a different point in their life than a lot of the characters in the other Trigger shows. And, you know, that was interesting. Because Trigger usually has more younger characters. I mean, David is pretty young in the beginning of the show, but, you know, there's time progression and everything. And I feel like the other Trigger shows don't necessarily have that much. I mean, Gurren Lagann does.
Yeah, so Gurren Lagann had its time skip. But
yeah.
Aside from that.
Yeah. So, like I said, yeah, Gurren Lagann would probably still be, in terms of what it does with its character and its story, be the most interesting next to Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I probably would rank those two at the top, and then maybe Promare, and after that Kill la Kill, and then the rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a stellar show, and got the recognition it deserved. A lot of people watched this.
It got a lot of people playing the game too.
Oh yeah, that's a neat side effect too. I mean, a lot of people apparently had the same attitude towards the game probably that I had when I heard about all the things that went wrong with it during its launch, and just, you know, let it fall by the wayside and forgot about it maybe. But the show was so good and got so many people interested in this universe that Cyberpunk 2077 immediately after Edgerunners launched on Netflix, or pretty immediately, got its highest numbers ever, and of simultaneous playing people and players in general. I think, I don't even know how many there were. And did it turn them that into their most successful game, or was that still The Witcher, or one of the Witchers? I don't remember.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
But it definitely gave them like this huge boost. Like more people played it than ever before, even at launch, and like it gave them a huge sales boost. So mission accomplished, probably. And I assume that was one of their goals for creating the shows, right? Like getting also a bit more people to check out the game again, like as a promotional vehicle, which, you know, when they first announced it, and I didn't know it was Trigger doing it, was like, oh, this is just a tie-in thing. But then I was like, oh, wait, Trigger's doing that? And, okay, this is interesting. Might she directing? And they might do their own thing. And the people who made the game are actually looking it over and are actually, you know, keeping a grip on that and everything. So, yeah, this turned out much better than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, because there are a lot of good tie-in animated things. I mean, the Witcher animated movie, Nightmare of the Wolf, is also really good.
I forgot about that. So
I think CD Projekt Red knows how to handle the adaptions of their material really well. They have some good people who are responsible for that. So yeah, that's pretty neat. I hope whatever they do, I mean, they do more Witcher, and maybe now probably more Cyberpunk. So maybe we'll see some more animated features from them in the future. And I wouldn't mind that, because so far they have not disappointed me in that regard, even though I haven't played any of their games really. I mean, I checked out like a couple of hours of the first Witcher game, and that was it. I haven't played any of the other ones. and I haven't played Cyberpunk yet, so...
I mean...
as far as...
I hear the original Witcher is some Eurojank, so...
Yeah. I mean, that also got an enhanced edition and everything, but... Yeah, in terms of Witcher, I read the books, I watched the Netflix live-action series, I watched the animated movie and everything, so that works. I don't even know if CD Projekt Red had a hand in the animated Witcher thing. I gotta say, maybe those were the people who were responsible for the live-action series. So maybe I gave them too much credit there. Who knows? But they definitely were responsible for this. And this Cyberpunk Edgerunners was a great show. So yeah, highly recommended. Definitely check it out. It's a really great looking show. It's well written. It's got a fantastic soundtrack, fantastic animation, great characters, like everything you want out of an anime. And it's really short. It's a breezy show. You can just binge that on basically a day if you want. And even if you don't want and want to pace it out a bit, then it works fantastically too. So good times. And it definitely makes you want to play the game for a very specific reason. So looking forward to that, cracking my knuckles. So John, any final word on Cyberpunk Edgerunners?
The show was really good, man, and it made me have to use Netflix, but I guess that's okay for now.
There are other ways, but
yes, but this show's great. Just watch it. Like we were saying, it's 10 episodes. It's a short watch, but it's definitely really engaging, and it's incredibly produced. Please check it out.
And that is a wrap on the 135th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our shows from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
Take care, chooms. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
Metal Gear meets Indiana Jones and James Bond?
High school was never quite this cutthroat before.
And a dynamic duo returns to the windy stage.